listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. What? Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country. The win. You need our energy. You gon' see. Listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Hey, sir. Have a good night, MG.
Yeah. All right, I got pee. Bye.
All right, and while MG's going pee, let's pull up this video that one of our Saeed, old girl Saeed, put in here, where some motherfucker said that forgiving student loans is reparations. It's only 6 minutes. I didn't watch it yet, so.
The big question on the left, really everywhere, is why is canceling student debt such an important political and economic cause? It's true that debt cancellation won't wipe out other forms of debt that will continue to cause harm. A recent piece in Current Affairs, it takes on this $1.7 trillion that Americans owe in debt, arguing that much of it ultimately canceled, but not before its owners have suffered for decades. If much of it is coupled with free college, will stimulate this economy and will actually get us out of an immediate hole. And of course, part of that, if we know really, I think anybody who has student debt knows this, is that you can't declare bankruptcy with your student debt. You gotta pay it. You gotta pay it. You default, it affects everything else, your ability to qualify for loans, to buy a house, to buy a car, et cetera. We all know the jam because we're working Americans. Why is this? I mean, it's interesting that Senator Schumer talked about eliminating student debt, sort of means testing it a little bit, whether it's realistic or not. But the fact that he recognized it makes me feel like, okay, they're starting to feel the heat. Other senators are starting to feel the heat locally because there's political pressure from those angles. But I mean, how realistic do we think any sort of cancellation of debt is going to happen, at least on day one? Rep Rab. You got a lot of debt, I assume. You went to a lot of schools.
Oh,
really
good.
Expensive schools.
Yeah. And I'm really concerned about the racial wealth gap, because we talk about income inequality. The real culprit for all of this is the wealth gap. And what you said earlier impacts the ongoing chasm that exists between specifically African Americans and white folk. And for a long time, for every the stat was for every dollar of wealth that a white family has, a black family has a nickel. That means we have to work 20 times as hard to get to parity. So if you're talking about starting a business, you talk about buying a home in a neighborhood where property values will go up. Well, then all of this is interrelated. And so when you do all the things we're supposed to do, right? You pay your taxes, go to school, get a job, get married, buy a home, have kids. You do all the right things, then you're punished with staggering debt. And if you're a woman, or in particular a woman of color, there's no pay equity, right? And then you're discriminated against for buying a home or getting a bank loan, irrespective of your formal education or occupational prestige as an African-American person. So this mean testing thing is bullshit, because systemic racism impacts folks up and down the economic ladder. And historically, in every single era, when Black folk excelled, when we were entrepreneurs, when we were elected officials, when very few were, white vigilante mobs lynched us. They stole our land. They created new laws. They pushed us out of the South and other places. This is the norm. And so, Obama mentioned stuff about means testing too, and how it's really more socioeconomic than it is racial. That is simply not so. And for those of us who have a decent income, I'm 6 generations college educated, and there's no financial transgenerational wealth in my family. 6 generations of Black people in this country have college degrees, no wealth. I don't know a single white person who has 6 generations of college education and no wealth. It is staggering. And so this is a form of reparations. And to do means testing would be deeply problematic.
No, come on. Yo, no.
Who is this dude? Is that Jared Ball?
No, his name's Rep Rab. It says PA 200. So this is a video that Saeed sent us. Say the pretty girl name. You know who I'm talking about, the little pretty brown girl. Sinead. This is Sinead dropped this in the reparationist group for our viewing pleasure. So I pulled it up real quick, and this is my first time listening to it. But when I saw student loan forgiveness, reparations,
I was ready to dip out on you Negroes, but my girl Sinead did it, so I gotta get in here.
Yeah, so yes, ain't that some bush? So less than 20% of native-born Black people have college degrees, and that's native-born. That doesn't mean American Descendants of Slavery. That means your parents were here and you were born on this soil. So you can be first generation. You cannot even be American. You just have to be Black and born here.
Mm-hmm. What show is this?
I don't know.
I know. Just name dropping. I know Namiki too. Just want to put that out there. I got her phone.
Chris Rabb has represented so he represents the 200 Philadelphia County in Pennsylvania. So if you're in Philly, y'all need to light this Negro up. 6 generations of college education. I know why he want that student loan forgiveness, but for us who ain't in that 20%, you can kick rocks, my brother.
Allegra Cross Productions presents Fixing Class Won't Fix Race, Volume 1, Student Loan Forgiveness. In the United States, there are 250.52 million white people. Of those, 46.9% have attained an associate's degree or higher. That is 117.49 million white people. There are 44 million Black people in the United States. 39.6 million of them are ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, racial terrorism, land theft, Jim Crow, redlining, the war on drugs, and mass incarceration. 19% of U.S.-born Blacks have attained an associate's degree or higher. That is only 7.52 million U.S.-born Blacks. Student loan forgiveness as a policy is a gift to stabilize the white working class and boost upper middle class Asian and white wealth. Let me explain. Wealth is held in families, not individuals. In Los Angeles, the median wealth of a white family is $355,000. In Los Angeles, the median U.S.-born Black has $4,000 median wealth. In Miami, the median wealth for a white family is $107,000. In Miami, for a U.S.-born Black, the median wealth is $3,700. In the District of Columbia, the median wealth for a white family is $248,000. Median wealth for a U.S. Black in the District of Columbia is $3,500. In Boston, the median white wealth is $251,000. The median wealth for a U.S.-born Boston family, Black, is $8. So you're thinking, yeah, hey, we are poor too. This video is not to argue that student loans should not be forgiven for all families. It is to show that this policy does not close the racial wealth gap. It should not be promoted as policy that significantly helps the ADOS Black community. Cancel student debt for 117.49 million white families. Just do it after you pay reparations to 39.6 million American descendants of slavery. Pure reparations now.
Yeah, let's. Okay,
No, hold on. Let Mud go. I hear Mud going. Go, Mud.
Yo, this is all about his own self-interest. This has nothing to do about the rest of Black people. This is really some bullshit. Like, I do not like a lot of these academic motherfuckers who think it's all about their situation. They think they represent all of Black America just because they're in this situation. Like, most motherfuckers who went to college, they're treating that college debt like it doesn't exist because they can't pay it off. They're never going to pay it off. And like, they're not going to own homes. Like, they're not in these situations where even if you do pay it off, it's actually going to benefit them. Like, they're still going to have nothing. So
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mud. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like, you brought up all this, like you brought up like you know, the violence, and you brought up all these things that happened separate from this issue, that like things that should like just be on their own, be like reasons why we should get like true reparations, pure reparations, cash payments. And then all you do is divert it to this issue. Like it's really just for you. This is really about you being mad that you have 6 generations of college educated motherfuckers in your lineage, and you're not where the white people are that have that same thing. But you're not talking about the motherfuckers who don't have any college degrees, who need to be with the same, like on the same level as white people who don't have college degrees. Like as far as wealth is concerned, like this is some bullshit. I don't even want to talk no more.
Yeah,
they be trying the fuck out of us.
Yeah, I think part of the I'm you know I'm dipping a little late here on a CP time, but I part of the problem, and it's really interesting that Nomiki only got 581 views. That's really interesting, because Nomiki been out here for a long time. So on another note, this is like Mutt said, this is complete and utter bullshit. Right, because the vast majority of Black folks in this country, they may have some college. I mean, most don't have any college debt because they haven't gone to college. The opportunity hasn't presented itself. Right, there's a lot of people with college degrees like myself, because of my service to Uncle Sam. I don't have any college debt. I bet there's more of them than there are these folks. Right, so if you get your college debt paid, you've been to 6 generations and you don't have any generational wealth, maybe you should have learned a lesson maybe 3 generations ago, right? This shit don't pay off like it's supposed to, because this was the social contract. The social contract for education in America was you get an education, you better yourself, you're more valuable to the job market. You get a good job, you can pay this debt off. That was a social contract. But then when Black folks started accessing this social contract, they started, no, wait a minute, now we got to pay more for college, right? Because a lot of people had free, a lot of older people had free, people in their 60s and 70s and above now, they had free and cheap college back in the day. They didn't have to go in this kind of debt. They could work a bullshit job like waiting tables and working at McDonald's and pay for college. Right? Or their dad could work in a factory and put all.
And they didn't have to speak Spanish.
Yeah, and they didn't have to learn to speak Spanish to get that shit done. Right? So this is a totally different world we're living in. right? And you haven't, and we failed, all of us, this entire country has failed to prepare children for that eventuality. People think a college degree, even in a relevant field, is automatic. And we've already talked about how tech degrees and STEM degrees don't translate for Black folks like they used to, because we're just importing those skill sets.
Ooh,
Right?
and you know, today they passed that bill to fast track a whole bunch more HB1 visas. So we got 40 million Americans out of jobs, and instead of you hiring people who have STEM degrees and training, you got a bunch of people sitting around their house that you need to be paying to stay inside. Why not train them for that shit versus
that you do from home? Yep.
Giving those jobs to people somewhere else because you don't want to pay American wages. And the fact that shit was able to be passed just shows that, like, as Americans, we don't have to start fucking shit up.
And that's all driven by Silicon Valley, right? That's that Silicon Valley money. That's that money in San Francisco that flushed all the Black people out, right? All this shit is related, but we're refusing to see it because people with money have convinced us that we can't talk about immigration, or we're anti-immigrant, right? We need better immigration policy.
Xenophobic, racist. Yep.
Yeah. We need better immigration policy. We've been saying it for years, right? We need to improve our immigration policy. It's true. It's true. If you have a whole bunch of people in this country that don't have the skill sets you want, that your job requires, or you don't want to pay them, right? That's what do lefties tell people with companies like that? You don't need to have a company if you can't pay for the skill set that you require here in the United States. You don't need to have that company. We tell everybody else that, but people who are in Silicon Valley, right? So you can't tell me that some of these folks on the left aren't bought off by these Silicon Valley types that want this cheap labor brought into the country. You can't tell me that, right? Because none of this shit fits. None of it fits. It's completely illogical, right? Anyway, go ahead, John. Go ahead. What you got,
man? Hey, man, it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day, man.
Yeah,
you know, it's usual shit. Use our pain, use the whole story, break it down in the fucking numbers and all this shit. And then the solution to fix the pain is let's help everybody. You know what I mean? First, I'm not saying let's not real shit, like real talk. Let's help everybody. And what this essentially would do is still leave us at the bottom, but you might get a little relief. It's a Groundhog Day. This motherfucker, yo, MG, he literally said that, yo, my family is 6th generation African American, college educated African Americans that have no wealth to pass down. I'm talking about through all the fucking civil rights, through fucking Reconstruction. They have nothing to pass down. They just got college degrees. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's saying to fix this is let's cancel the student debt for Naomi Coast, you feel me, for her, so she can have a decent upper middle class life. You know what I mean? Like, you barely clinging on, bro. Like, real shit. Like, you Black people that got degrees live in fucking delusions, man. You think because you live, bro? When we bring you, bro, let me look at your bank account. Let me look at your bank account. See your neighbor bank account. Let's look now. Fuck what your income is. Let me look at your what do you own? Let's look at your bank account compared to that white.
How much money does your family borrow from you every year?
Exactly. Let's look at your whole. Let's look at your whole.
Because you the stable one.
Let's look at it. Let's break it down. Let's see how you live, bro. You feel me? Like, you break that shit down compared to the white dude that got a fucking, you feel me, don't even got a degree, that might have some type of skill or something like that, might be a skilled worker, and you got a PhD, and you see his wealth breakdown maybe slightly higher than yours with a PhD. And real shit, you start really getting to the crux of this shit, but it's Groundhog Day. You feel me?
And college debt across the country is less than $2 trillion. You can't close the racial wealth gap with $2 trillion.
He said she's like $1.7 trillion. White people have $100 trillion in wealth. You know what I'm saying? And we got 3.
This is bullshit. You know, don't get me wrong. I wish, you know, in a different world, I wish that's all we needed was to get that off our back. But at the end of the day, there's more of white people have gone to college, have degrees, or have spent some time in college, right? And more white people have debt. It is what it is. So you're gonna say this is reparations, but white people get served better, right? Crazy, plus they had the wealth on top of that, right? So they had the debt. So they have wealth. They had this debt that eats into their wealth. You wipe that away, so they have wealth. So their wealth, their value, their net value just went up, right? our net value goes up, but to a much lesser degree, right? Because we don't have any wealth. This is logic. This is how money works. It's anyway. Sam, what you got, Sam?
No, they just keep trying to play us with these numbers. Like they just keep sitting around trying to play us like we're stupid. So he's like, and like I said, he didn't give any numbers though, but he was basically like, "Oh,
he's a Pokemon."
Yeah.
Hey Sam, he's a Pokemon. He's a Negro. He's a left-wing Negro Pokemon.
No, I get it. Like I said, I get it. But again, you're not going to convince me if less than 20% of Black people, native-born Black people, have degrees. That's not hitting my community. There's a whole 50% of white people who don't have fucking college degrees. You're not putting food on their table with this shit neither. This is some middle class bullshit right now. So again, y'all keep trying to sell me on class, but you have not come up with a policy yet that raises my poor friends who will not inherit any property, whose parents call and ask them for money. Nothing that you offer has changed the substantive part of their life. Like Mud was saying, they're not paying their student loans. That shit's in deferment till they can't defer it anymore. And then after that, you just let that shit go into default, or you pay the bare minimum. Like, oh, you want $30 a month? Here you go. I'll pay you $30 till forever.
Yep.
Your shit turn around be like 200 grand for 50 grand. Like the fuck?
Shit, you ain't lying, sis. Fuck it. Yep. You ain't lying, man.
Absolutely, it's pie in the sky. That's why I told all my kids, if you're gonna go to school, you're gonna start in the community college.
Yeah, of course.
First 2 years under your belt of community college, and you can pay most of that yourself. I may scholarship your ass to community college because that shit is cheap, right? But you're gonna start at community college, right? But most of my kids are taking a different route. But I mean, it makes no sense to go on this kind of debt as a young person. Right. And I talk to my kids every time, do not. It's not like you go out and, okay, you go in the military, you buy yourself a little hot car because you're a young man, and that's what the fuck young stupid men do. Right. But that's a 4-year debt and it's gone. Right. So if you don't wreck it before, anyway, that's another story for another day. But right. That's not any real debt. Right. Some guys are smarter with their money. Some guys will, invest in little duplexes or little apartments, when they join the military or whatever, and get some money coming in. But this doesn't make any sense. There's no weight here, none. It took him 6 generations to make this shitty argument. This is wild, man. Anybody else got anything?
The role of the Pokemon. The role of the Pokemon. My bad. Yeah, go ahead, bro. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, I'm good. Nah, and who's this Mozart dude?
Yeah, and that's why you hate to see the argument kind of get sucked into this as an elite thing. Almost borrowing that Rick Santorum line of like snobs who want to go to college. Remember that, Jem?
Right.
Like,
well, when only 20% of Black people have college degrees.
As progressives, as Democrats, as liberals,
I called it out.
Is really, really detrimental, and it's not helping anyone. And I would remind
it's not helping white people,
whether
and
it's
Asians, because they're the ones with all the college degrees.
Situations. It's actually not when you piss off and kind of take away things from poor people that revolutions happen. It's actually when the middle class comes to the end of the meritocratic ladder and finds out that there's nothing there.
Oh, whoa.
They poke their head up
stop
to
that.
Whoa. Stop, Sam. Stop.
What? He wilding. He bugging the fuck. Oh,
so
there you go.
Again, they're making an argument for us. So what happens? We've come to the end of the meritocratic ladder forever, right? The meritocratic ladder never worked for us. So we come to the end of it, and we need our fucking reparations, and we need it now, right? Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll say, like, we get to the end of that ladder, and we're still in poverty. That's
yep.
We're not middle class at the end of that ladder. We're
we get a ring and a half, and hey, that's the top of the ladder for us. You know what I
mean? Basically, what they're talking about doing is restoring us to like 70s levels. That's when we had jobs. Like,
so he's making the argument to restore the middle class. So what you're saying
but we were never middle class, and that's what white people don't understand. Black people have never been middle class in this country.
The middle class barely exists anymore. The middle class barely exists anymore. So you actually making an elite argument. People were able to hold on to be stay in the middle class or rise to the middle class. They're elite. Sorry. Well, as America is currently constructed now. Sorry, it is what it is. Go ahead, folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're
Frustrates
right.
the shit out of me.
You own. Let me keep going.
Yeah, let's go.
keep going. Yeah.
And
Part
they
of the
partner
club?
with, yes. Aran, real quick, just touching on it from the EU perspective. I mean, there's obviously access to free college in the EU, and depending on what country you're
And it's
in,
much cheaper even when it's not free.
much cheaper. Exactly.
No
So,
shit.
I mean, is there? Obviously, there's an economic crisis in several countries in the EU. I mean, my family's in Greece. I'm very acutely aware of the lack of money in that country and jobs, well-paying jobs. But in Greece in particular, per capita, most educated, poorest country in, I believe, or Portugal is, the poorest country in the EU, but also the most educated. So it's just really fascinating because even if you do provide education, there's just so much. It just shows you that, coming back to day one crisis and priorities for the Biden administration, even if they deal.
Sorry, I'm gonna pause this real quick, just because I want to say where she was like in Greece, how they're really educated and poor. That's the same thing that happens right now in this country with Black
Welcome
people
to
before
blackness.
COVID.
Yep,
Black college graduates have less wealth than white high school dropouts. They have less wealth than white college people who have the same bachelor's degree. We have less wealth than Latinos that have the same college degree. So, just because you give us a degree doesn't mean that we're going to make money with it. It's plugs, they say all the time, right? Tony Vet, plugs and outlets, right? It's a plug. If there's no outlet to plug it into, you ain't getting no light. Ain't nothing happening for you. It's just an inert thing that you can't do anything with.
And she's making the argument because she feels this because it's her people in Greece, right?
Of course.
But what about here in the United States?
Yeah.
Right?
We ain't her people, so she don't care.
This is what our educated Negroes have been going through for centuries, right?
Boy just said it. He literally said in the beginning, he said 6 generations. What's wrong with your family? The dude who gave all that money to Morehouse was 8 generations college graduate, and he billionaire. According to y'all Negroes, right? Working hard should have brought you there, right?
Word up. Goddamn.
Mud, John, what you got?
I mean, it's Jesus. Hey, let cousin Mud go. I ain't got nothing to say, man. This shit disgusts me, man. I ain't lie, this shit really disgusts me, man. For real. The Amy Cons, man, real talk, man. Her whole vibe to me is really anti-black, man. I'm sorry. I never can really get down with it. You know what I'm saying? It's something about it. I was like, yo, real shit. Then she started breaking down her people problems, though. They went to college and they're poorest in the EU. But the real shit, like, at the end of the day, Greek people on average live better than the average American Negro. They're living in Europe, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, real shit, like, man, like, I think that if you really broke it down, like, real shit, like, the Greek people by a whole, they live better than American Negroes do. You know what I'm saying? They got the euro. The euro worth more than the American dollar. Yo, stop playing these fucking games, man. You know what I mean? Like, real shit, like, she trying to bring that up. This dude just talked about the whole from slavery, penniage, everything, and my family then got 6 generations of degrees, and we have no wealth to pass down in America. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's trying to say my family. Well, in Greece they're poor, but come on, man, come on. This shit is crazy. I don't even. All right,
John, you're making a good point. John, you're making a good point. Even if they don't like have like more income or whatever goofy shit like that, they've been there and they own their homes, they own their land, shit that black people in America don't have.
And their social welfare
free healthcare.
Their social welfare system
you ain't lying,
much better.
They got a
ours.
safety net.
Absolutely.
You ain't lying,
even with all this other turmoil, their social safety net is still better than ours.
Right. Okay, let me roll back. We got like 2 minutes and 47 seconds left.
With this education crisis and the student debt, it's not going to be enough because you have a crisis of a million other things on the plate. So I feel like they're using this as an opportunity to just say, look, we've dealt with our most immediate needs. And then they're gonna, like they did with Obamacare, frankly, we had to focus on Obamacare. We fought over Obamacare. And as a result, we didn't get to all the other things we wanted to. We have to deal with student debt, could find some compromise on student debt. And then as a result, we're not gonna get to all the other things that we need to get to in this economic crisis. But if you look at, there are still countries in crisis that have free education and they still do not have the wages to survive. So, Arun, being in the EU, being part of the Obama world, what are your thoughts?
Like so many things, the European welfare system treats things as necessities that in America are luxuries. You know, certain kinds of healthcare. In fact, most of it in America is a luxury. It's not. It's a privilege. Education in Europe is seen as an essential role of the government. It's seen as an essential part of the government. And I will tell you what's happening. Like Trump started the job by like making it harder for extremely smart people from all over the world to come to the United States to go to college. The pandemic is reminding a lot of Europeans who have a lot of cash, who are the normal cash cows for college, so they give scholarship to American kids, how much they love the University of Maastricht in Holland and Bologna in Italy, and like, oh, maybe I won't. And so
good.
So it's only going to make the crisis worse in America when the brilliant and sometimes well-resourced foreign.
No, so this is the thing that pisses me off. Americans are fucking brilliant. We don't produce these people because this country does not invest in education. These people that come from other countries are not smarter. Their countries put more money into their primary education.
Yes, and that's why
it's
India
basic.
does so well. That's why India does so well. They invest heavily in education.
Yeah, this is a joke. This is like when people be like, oh, we need more foreign doctors because they're just more educated. No, that's not true. Tyrone can never become a doctor because Tyrone can't afford freaking junior college. Tyrone got to work a full-time job to get through junior college, let alone get a bachelor's degree. And then you want him to get a master's and go to medical school and do all this other stuff and residency and all this stuff that people do for free? Are you serious? Who got money for that? And then come out of school with $300,000 in loans.
Yeah, this is
like, this is a joke. This is a cruel joke. Yeah. And then you call us xenophobes and fucking racist because we're like, Americans can do these jobs. This is some bullshit. And this is why I get on y'all, because y'all keep talking about how this is an immigrant country. No, this is a country of natives, captives, and colonizers. Period. The Native Americans that were here, the slaves that were brought here, and the slaves that were stolen from their own tribes, whose tribes have been disbanded. And we will never know what those tribe names were because they've been lost to history through paper genocide. This country is not a country of immigrants. The people who originally came here were colonizers. Those of y'all who came here, even the ones of you who came here in the 1900s, you came here for land and opportunity. Like, I don't care what you say. So no, this is not you. This country was already on its way to being great. You were brought here to displace the native Black population, period. And it is what it is. And I read history. If you don't like what I'm saying, I don't give a fuck. Because I'm not even talking about Mexicans right now. I'm talking about you Irish. Okay, because like I said, I'm a historian, so if I want to talk trash,
to replace it. You know how I felt about them niggas.
Y'all was the
I'm 6% Irish. Why? I'm Black as hell, man. Why am I 6% Irish, nigga? Slavery, motherfucker.
Why do you think there's still such a heavy presence of Irish in the fire department? Y'all were the ones who pushed us out. You pushed us out and made it where they wouldn't hire Black people. You guys banded together and made it where we couldn't get jobs. You guys would go to your employer and say, if you hire Black people, we'll shut this shit down. That's what your ancestors did. Just because you don't remember what your grandpappy did doesn't mean he didn't do it. And that's the thing that gets on my nerves about you. Well, my grandparents never owned slaves. Bitch, you're 50. Your parents, if they were here a generation ago, they most likely were in a sundown town. Your parents might have been at a lynching, okay? And lynchings were all around the country. It's not a Southern thing, people. So quit trying to play me. Like, a lot of y'all come from white racial terrorists. Again, I'll say this again, y'all was our Al-Qaeda, and a lot of y'all descend from terrorists. So while you're telling Black people they don't owe they aren't owed anything. Your family could possibly be terrorists. Like your family could you could have land in your family that was stolen from Black people, that Black people were killed for, and you don't even know.
Terrorists. Generations of
Yeah.
terrorists. Yep. Yep.
They kill me with this.
Generations of terrorists, terrorist sympathizers, terrorist enablers, all of that.
And that's what people need to remember. Like the Nazis learned from the US. Don't get it twisted.
Mm-hmm. You sure did.
And they even talk about that shit. You can read about that shit in their writings. They learned from the US. They just took that shit to another level.
Here's the
well,
crazy
actually, they didn't take it to another level. They said some of the stuff. This is what the Nazis said. This is in the book. They said some of the stuff that America does, they wouldn't even try it in the beginning because it just seems too outlandish. Right? You know what I mean? So and then people come to us and tell us about everybody else's problems. But all this shit, and especially all this economic deprivation that America participates in all over the world, they perfected that on us. They perfected that on us. And then you got the nerve to tell me that all these people here that can't afford an education or can't or got a shitty private public school education because of the way the system is, and now you're gonna say, okay, now we need to import all these other skill sets in order to compete in the world. But no,
and that's the laziness of this country. That's the laziness of the country.
The education system.
That's the same shit. That's the same shit that fucking, what is her name? The one from the Congressional Black, Karen Bass. The same bullshit she said when she said we need to import more Africans because our birth rates are low. So instead of you fixing the problem, which is the fact that a lot of our men are incarcerated during during those main years when people normally do settle down, get married, and have children, instead of dealing with that, and dealing with the fact that even for those of our brothers who managed to not get caught up in this incarceral systems, a lot of times they still ain't making no money. They're working menial jobs and they don't see how they can support a family. So they choose, for those, a lot of them, they choose to what we tell people is being responsible, right? They tell you as men, right? If you can't support a family, you shouldn't be out here spreading your seed, right?
Absolutely.
But on the same end, we are not having families because of that reason, when our parents and grandparents didn't have shit but still happened to get married and have a bunch of kids. You understand what I'm saying? But we've started to make that part of, well, you shouldn't have any kids if you don't have any money because you can't take care of them. And I'm not saying that people should just be out here willy-nilly just having a bunch of kids, but what I'm saying is instead of you dealing with the real problems of why this is happening, you just be like, oh, we should just import more people. This is laziness. And this is the problem of this country. And this is why you have these people who are at the top. And even the people that you import, you're not paying them American wages. You're paying them poverty wages. So you're exploiting people.
It's human trafficking. You call it something nice. But all you're doing is corporations are paying less for quality labor. And
that's it.
And it isn't always quality labor, but
that's the truth
for another day. So the reality is here, I always say, you want to bring all these other people in, but what about the people here who are unwanted? What happens to them when they get replaced in the job market? What happens to them? Because that's all we've ever been to this country is labor. That's all we've ever been. That's all that's ever mattered about us to this country is our labor. Right? Preaching. So what happens to the people that are here and built the country while you're importing other people from other labor sources, which is just cheaper, which is actually a service to corporations, right? They're not importing people because the skills aren't here. They're importing people because the skills are cheaper from other places, right? This dude is talking bullshit, right? The people that come here from Europe to get jobs,
straight bullshit.
They already have money. Right? They come here to start a business because
and degrees.
A lot of these spaces it's
tomorrows. In the 2017-18 school year, 363,000 Chinese students came to study in the US, while only 24,000 Americans went to China. This, on the surface, isn't all that surprising. What's weird, really weird, is how fast it happened. All of a sudden, starting in 2007, Chinese students in the US absolutely exploded, accounting for 93% of all international student growth in the last decade. More students come from China to America than the next 6 countries combined, including India, despite having almost the same size population. So why so many? Why so sudden? And is the US right to worry about incoming spies? The answer has less to do with academics and more with economics, complex social dynamics, and above all, politics. If their child performs poorly on his or her high school entrance exam, rather than lose face, families may place them in international schools, designed to prepare them for exams like the SAT instead. Others pursue an education abroad with the intent of eventually migrating the whole family, or simply for more opportunity. The perception is that, while school in China is more intense up until the Gaokao, afterwards students feel they've satisfied their family's expectations and can relax at university, whereas American college is when students start getting serious. In other words, students leave China on their parents' suggestion, who usually pay their tuition. And pay do they? There are English lessons, extracurriculars for admissions, exam fees, and travel costs. On top of that, families pay agencies about $10,000 per child for help in the process. In other words, this is only possible thanks to China's rising, newly wealthy middle class, and the demographics which leave parents with only one child to pay for, and more importantly, only one chance to get it right. The truly wealthy get started even earlier, sending their child to an elite American feeder middle school which can charge up to $60,000 to $70,000 a year. And when old-fashioned studying doesn't work, upper-class families resort to gifts, usually about $250,000, and as much as $6.5 million. There's one more. All of these factors help explain this, but they don't justify this. Why did it all happen so fast? To answer that, we need to understand how schools really make money. Broadly speaking, in the US, there are 2 university business models. The first way a school can make money is simple: charging students. Private schools are the Apple of education. They forego massive market share in exchange for a smaller number of higher-paying students. And because they attract high-income families, they can expect good lifelong customers, aka endowments. On the other hand, the way public schools pay the bills is a little less obvious. Lower tuition is made up for by state and federal funding, aka everyone's favorite, taxes. Government subsidizing is great, when it's great. Low prices grant low-income families access to a great education. The problem is that state and federal governments have other priorities and are subject to economic downturns. During the 2008 recession, Americans spent and made less money, governments collected less revenue, and colleges received less funding. From 2008 to 13, states alone lost out on $283 billion. Now, 10 years later, most of us have long forgotten about the recession, but not universities. Still, in 2018, state funding for higher education was down 13% from before the crisis. So, as government subsidies fell, schools immediately turned to a new subsidy: international tuition. The current model is one where colleges can segment prices without appearing to discriminate. In other words, tuition is set very high, but aid is handed out very generously. The average full-time undergraduate in 2017-18 received nearly $15,000 in total aid. But while something like 85% of students receive some amount of financial aid, international students almost always pay full price. At Michigan State University, for example, in-state freshmen pay $25,064 a year for tuition, fees, room, and board. Out-of-state residents pay just over double, and international students pay $9,133 on top of that.
It's definitely real talk. I mean, real shit. Real talk. I think. What's the meaning? What's the little name construct? What? I mean, honestly, this is a progressive show. Like real shit. They was talking about some straight up hardcore elitism. They really talking about something like
this gets back to this whole thing, right? If you're so exceptional and so brilliant, why do you have to come to America to make it happen? So there's something about this country. There's something about this country that makes it where you can be successful. And that's the thing. Again, it's just aggravating to me because I know so many people who have dropped out of college because they just couldn't afford it anymore. So how many people have we lost? I know so many people by the time they graduated high school, they were done because the whole school education system was such bullshit that they just didn't want to endure it anymore. So how many brilliant, intelligent minds have we lost over these years? So for them just to be like, some of the smartest people come from out of this country. No, y'all forget this country had the smartest people when we were investing in education. And Black people, we were brilliant when you guys weren't investing in our education. The only difference is now we don't have the same type of, back then, some of us actually had stability, and the stability that some of us were able to carve out, we've lost. But for those of us who actually get the time to go and educate ourselves or educate ourselves in our own time, we do end up being brilliant. But again, it's access to resources, it's access to capital. Like, even when you can get a scholarship to a school, if you don't have enough extra money for you to do the other shit you need to do, you can't do it.
To live, to eat, wash clothes,
exactly.
All that shit. Yep. Books.
Hey man, listen. Hey, real shit, what y'all saying, you feel me? Like, this dude, real shit, like you say, you talking about Beethoven, Mozart, whatever the fuck this. You feel me? Like, he really, real shit. He was like, he like Mozart. I'm like, yo, chill, he ain't saying. As soon as you said he like Mozart, I was like, oh, gotta get his. I'm like, out of nowhere. He like, yeah, well, that's why we need more educated European, because COVID. Because I feel like I'm Black now because of COVID, because, I can't come over.
I'm telling you.
Like, I'm like, yo, y'all need to shut the fuck. Y'all all need to just shut the fuck up, for real. And the thing about it, looking at it on this fucking, on this particular podcast, whatever, this is a quote unquote American progressive podcast. They talking like elite people. They say like, we need to stabilize the middle class.
And that's why poor people need to start doing podcasts. Like I said, poor people need to start speaking for themselves and stop letting these rich middle class assholes speak for them.
This is crazy to me.
We're going to do. We're going to have a network of people, real people on the ground, doing.
And that's what it is, because there's just too many people who can't relate to people talking for them.
But
like this Negro who said that shit was reparations. Like, the person who seems like she's the closest on point is the white girl.
Oh my Jesus, no! Beyond you, no. Out there, I feel like
I
no.
She's
what
the
they all
do of the group. Like, I didn't say she was on point. I said she's the closest. Because at least she's saying like that shit ain't really gonna help what's really going on. She said it. She just didn't say it from a Negro standpoint, but she said it. But the other ones, like I said, this dude lost me talking about, oh, well, we're losing, since they cramped down on the visas for the highly skilled immigrants. We have 40 million people unemployed. Of that 40 million, not all of them are laborers. Not all of them are uneducated. Not all of them are low skilled workers. A lot of these people out of work right now are professionals of all colors. So you telling me that in a moment of where we have higher unemployment than the Great Depression, you are telling me that we need to import more labor? Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And I'm the one with a culinary degree.
Wow.
That's because they gave you easy access to those loans. If they gave you easy access to loans for other shit, I probably would have did something else. Could have never got the type of loans that I got for culinary school for a regular school.
Got set up.
Right. But I'm just saying, it's very nefarious what they doing. I'm sorry, it's very nefarious what they fucking doing, man. What she's doing, like I'm saying, is basically you got this Black dude right here talking about the pain of African Americans and what we had to go through, and how college education, how canceling student debt is what is really needed. Blah blah. Then you got Navy counsel like, you know what? Well. That's basically she's not saying she's saying like that's not. She's saying like, yo, no, that's not going to fix it. Feel me? Like because she's trying to allude to her progressive agenda. She's not alluding to reparations.
I didn't say she's talking about us.
And then you got an immigrant dude talking about something. Feel me? On the back of his conversation, the power of his conversation in America. This Black dude talking about our struggle in America. Him being the 6th generation college educated African American, and his family had no wealth to pass down. This is the fucking platform that they go into their progressive and they other all lives agenda on. That shit is that's why? Like why would you Like why are you doing that? Like why no, you can't do that no more. You bugging out. You can't do that no more. If that shit ain't this whole rest of the state. That's why we need a specific policy. If he ain't say, he's like, we need specific targeted. If he said we need some targeted policy towards African Americans, some economic policy, I would have all right, But he's like, no, that's why we got college cancel student debt. She's like, yeah, but canceling student debt ain't the problem because they can say that, but they're not going to end the war. And you feel like she's not going to talk about it. Like, then you got to do like, yeah, well, I'm an immigrant and now I feel like a Negro dude because I can't come to America like COVID. Man, shut up. Like real shit. Like I don't want to hear none of that shit. Stop using our fucking pain. Stop using our struggle. Real shit, and that, feel me, without bringing up the solution, you bringing up all the problems. You making a case for reparations, then making a case for something else. Them days is over. I don't give a fuck about it. You can't do that no more. You ain't doing that no more. Not on my watch.
These are
You
facts.
bugging, and they all colluding together. I'm tired of that shit, man.
They are.
What y'all talking about?
Colluding is a very good word. Hey, let's finish this. We only got like a half a minute.
Right.
What is that?
For sure. All right.
Yeah. Like literally.
Kids stop coming to school in America. It's going to be a real problem. We're going to start seeing a brain drain in the same way that it's cheaper to go to Thailand to get your gallbladder removed or whatever. You're going to see
a brain drain. How the fuck? What? We got plenty of brains here we ain't using. These countries actually are not gonna have brain drain. Brain drain is y'all leaving y'all country.
Yes.
We don't need you here. Listen, y'all gonna think I don't care how you feel about it. We don't need you.
Sure
we got plenty of people. We got 40 million Americans, right? You can train me to do anything. I'm a fucking genius. I learned how to do shit from watching YouTube videos. Don't actually give me some money and resources and training. Like, I could pretty much do anything. Like real shit. So quit playing me. Like y'all this is some bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm gonna play this last 50 seconds, but brain drain. Oh my god. Yeah.
Fucking
more and more kids deciding to go to excellent universities in Europe and even in Asia.
And
that's fascinating. I haven't even thought about it from perspective.
Well, some of them are going to stay and start companies there.
Yay!
Yeah, that's what's going to pay for it all. Isn't that how?
Watching and listening to the
Yeah, no. All right. Well, I'm so glad Sayed played for
Sam Cedar Network. All right.
Yeah. You see the color in the background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this is wild. Okay, number one. I'm saying my last little bit, and I gotta bounce.
No, go ahead, please.
All right. So, number one, this is not reparations. Reparations is for a specific harm done to a specific group of people. That's what reparations is. That's what it always has been. Right?
Reparations isn't fixing the road in your bullshit ass town. That's not reparations.
Exactly. So this is not
an infrastructure bill, is it? No.
Loan forgiveness is not reparations. It doesn't. Number one, it doesn't impact enough people. Right? It doesn't impact enough people. People who are harmed. If you call this, you can't call reparations no matter how you frame it, you can't call loan forgiveness reparations. No matter how you frame it, because it's not for a specific group. It's basically for America breaking the social contract with the students, right? And part of the problem is importing labor, right? That's part of the problem. Is you're importing people who will work cheaper. Right, so America fuck everybody on education, right? Fix that, fine, fix that. But that's not reparations. It's not reparations. Reparations is for specific people for a specific harm or set of harms. Period. This undermines everything we're trying to do. That's what they're doing intentionally. So even though, we understand that disproportionate amount of Black people have high amounts of student debt, right? That's because we don't have any fucking wealth, right? This wouldn't be a problem if we had our wealth. Guess what? You fix education and give us our money, it won't be a problem anymore, right? It is what it is. It is what it is.
What it is.
All right, we wouldn't have to go into debt. We could use if we weren't red line out of appreciating assets, right? We could use our home as collateral, right? We could do all kinds of stuff we could do. But this is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. All right, fam, I'm out. Love y'all.
All right, have a good night.
All right.
Get some rest, old man. Go take an Epsom salt bath.
We need more
Have
than
that pretty wife rub
Hey,
you
yo,
down.
hey, yo, chill the fuck out.
What?
They talking about taking Epsom
He
salt
married
bath.
to
I
a
mean,
beautiful woman. If I can't tell him to go have his beautiful wife rub him down, what the hell can I say? Damn.
well, you ain't had to say Epsom salt. I mean, you ain't say that. You
I
said
take
Epsom
Epsom
salt bath.
salt baths all the time.
My back might start
Damn.
feeling better, girl. Might get that girl in trouble. that good trouble.
What's up? Oh man,
that shit is hilarious. Go ahead, you guys. What y'all got?
Well, what you got, cuz?
Oh, yeah, I think this is the dumbest video I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like the black dude, nothing he said justified like student loan forgiveness. Everything he said was justified to straight reparations. Like
that's it.
And then old girl, she's talking about basically the economic crisis and how, like, if you're gonna bring up the economic crisis, like I hate to be this person, but then why the fuck are we talking about student loan forgiveness? We should be talking about payments.
Something else. We should be talking about wealth transfer. We should be talking about something, but what we talking about right now ain't it.
Well, they should be making the case for UBI right now, some shit like that. Exactly. You making the case for student loan. What the fuck is you talking about? That was some bullshit.
I'm telling you. And I'm glad they at least finally got UBI up to $2,000. Like I can, between me and my dude, we can do something with 4 racks a month. That Andrew Yang $1,000. I was like, dude, $1,000 ain't shit, bruh. And that 2 racks really needs to be more, but that's a starting talk.
And then be like, you can't get welfare and the UBI, motherfucker.
Yeah.
It doesn't even benefit the people who need it the most.
Like, exactly.
Andrew Yang a libertarian. I've been saying this since I'm like, he's a libertarian. He's trying to get rid of the whole. He's a tech liberal, aka a libertarian, like a softer libertarian. Like he's like, yo, I'm gonna give everybody UBI, but you can't get UBI if you got food stamps. Like real shit. Like,
exactly. Or we're gonna subtract the amount of food stamps that you get from your UBI. And it's like, listen, if I got a house full of kids and I get $600 a month for UBI, I mean for food stamps, your $1,000, so you're gonna give me an extra $400 a month. Fuck you very much.
It's like, yo, take the cash or take the government assistance, because it's a way for him to try to close down it's libertarian shit. You feel me? He trying to really consolidate the fucking the welfare program and shit. I mean, it's not added on top of it to make you, you know what I mean, to make you more. It's like, yo, real, so you take this or you gonna take this, and if people gonna take the cash, and at the end of the day, it's gonna leave a society that's mad unequal. I'm sorry.
And that's why you need a federal jobs guarantee to be connected to a UBI. Even the person who originally was talking about UBI was talking about it connected to a federal jobs guarantee. But they don't want to actually connect their production to it.
Exactly. It's like, you're right, though. I'm like, all right, you're going to get rid of all these welfare programs. You're going to give people UBI. Then at least, let me guarantee a motherfucker a job. So if it were like that make more sense to transition to that. He's just like, he ain't saying no. He's saying no, we gonna cut taxes. I swear to God. Yeah, I seen him. I'm like, he a libertarian.
They be on that bullshit. Yeah, they on some bullshit.
Libertarian.
Cannot.
So basically, what Mud was saying, he was right. He's trying to use our pain and talking about some student debt forgiveness. He like, yo, real shit, like in the middle of a pandemic, people need money. You know what I mean? Like this shit, real shit. Like I can see basic health care and motherfucking UBI being at the forefront of you talking about the pandemic. You making that argument. Don't bring us up in that argument though. Don't talk about the curses. Don't bring our whole story up. If I mean all the shit that was wrong to the niggas did to us, and talk about
that's what they always do.
Don't do that shit, man.
They always do that. They go through our whole plight and then they be like, but everybody, it's like, but everybody didn't go through what we went through, which I'm fine for these universal policies, but you need to give me reparations first. And again, the universal policies that you're offering don't help poor Black people. And this is coming from an upper middle. I'm in the top 5% of my race. That's the paying off this student loan debt is great. That'll clear out this debt that's in my name. And if you clear out the ones that are private too, that clears this debt that I have in my mama's name out too. So then I really won't really have no debt. But I'm in the top 5% of Black people.
It's not like you see that you're in the top 5% of Black people. I want you to talk to somebody from the top 5% of white people. and that's what you're gonna
for
rent.
real.
Go meet one of them.
It's a
Go, you feel me?
whole
Go meet one of
different
them.
number. It's a
Go meet
whole
one of them.
different number. Real talk.
You live
'Cause
like
I'm still
you
broke.
live like a lower middle
I'm
class
broke.
white person and shit. That's
I
fucked up. You live
literally
like
gotta go to the bank tomorrow to put money in it so I can pay bills.
for
So
real.
my
You
shit
live
don't
like a
end up
lower middle
overdrawn.
class white
And I'm
person.
in the top 5% of black people.
So so you live like in a motherfucking 30, 35%, maybe the 40% of white people and shit, and you're in the top
Probably
5%
if
of black
that.
people.
Exactly,
How
if
nuts?
that.
You feel me? Maybe the 50%. You feel me? At the middle line of white people. You feel me? With
I
wealth
don't even think I'm in the middle line. I think I'm somewhere in like the 3rd or 4th percentile. Yeah.
You might be,
Maybe the
you might be
4th.
75.
That's
Damn.
some
You
shit,
might
right?
damn. So
Maybe
you might
in
be
the
like
4th.
70. That's crazy.
Yeah, it might be somewhere in the 4th. Yeah, I gotta look at the numbers. You gonna make me do some research, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, real shit. Like, she's in the top 5% of people because everybody like to bring the race, how to break down race, the wealth, the quintile, and decile. All right, well, she in the top 5% of black people. Go meet a white person in the top 5%. Bro, real shit. They mansion gonna have another mansion in the back of the mansion. They
They
fucking
definitely not gonna be driving a piece of shit ass 2014 Chevy for sure.
No, it's not gonna be no. It's gonna be no.
That overheats when it gets too hot.
That's what they like. That's what they like cars. They probably got 5 of them. I mean, like, you talk about the top 5% of white people. Like, you live in the top 5% of black people, and you feel me? You out here struggling. Shit, it's like that shit ain't cool. That shit ain't, I mean, not struggling. Not struggling like you feel me? Like, but no,
struggling.
you
Shit,
struggling.
I'm about to start begging
up.
around Christmas time for people to support my my plantation rum habit for sure. I'm about to pull out my 10 cup.
I'll send wherever I got you. Don't worry, I'll send you a whole bottle. I'm gonna send you a case of rum. All right, I'm gonna save my.
No, you can't afford a case of that. It's like $50 a bottle. You can send me a bottle.
Oh damn, $50 a god damn.
I told you.
Can I send you a
can
cup?
send me a bottle. You
Can I
see
send
how
you
I
a
didn't
cup?
let you set yourself up for that? Like,
I ain't gonna lie,
just send one. Just send one.
Do shots go through Amazon? Can I put it in the shot glass and wrap it up? Do it go through Amazon? Because I can't. I'm getting that shit to you, sis. I swear to God, I'm getting that shit to you.
I'm gonna get a P.O. box just so I can hustle, bro.
Bro, that shit is a real shot.
Just call me Jack Sparrow, goddammit.
I'm like, don't spill that shit either, man. Don't spill that shit. I'm like, that shit wrapped up in hella bubble wrap. It's gonna be a real shot glass. Like, yeah, I work hard for that shit. Make sure she get that.
Hilarious.
But man, nah, man. Nah, y'all niggas crazy, man. Y'all crazy, man. This whole thing is crazy.
I mean, just to finish it off, the last guy, like, he decided to make it, like, he was bringing up fucking immigration. Like,
yep.
Like,
you can't talk about black people without talking about immigration. You know, they got to bring in our replacements. And I guess people get mad if I say that or not, but I don't care. It is what it is. Because again, y'all can just look at history. If I go read when affirmative action was white, you know, read how the Irish became white. You know, that's the old stuff, so you don't have to get triggered. Start there. And if you want to talk about some new stuff, I can give you some more books. But I like to start historically, so you can see I'm not a bigot. I don't like y'all need to, like, I have issues with your ancestors too, because your ancestors was a problem. So it is what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't understand how, like, anything he said was like a real argument for why they need to do student loan forgiveness. Like, okay,
it wasn't.
Like, motherfuckers that are in another country aren't going to come to America. Like, it's not like they're going to fucking build some shit that's going to be better than America in the other fucking country. Like, even if they build some shit over there, they still going to try to come to America's market to sell their shit.
Because we're one of the biggest markets, and that's what it is. And we make everything hot. Like, let's keep it real.
I know. So, I mean, it's some dumb shit, man. I like, really, this whole video was like a waste of motherfucking time. And like,
hey, I don't even know. I'm like, that shit came out of nowhere too.
Content. This is
that
why
shit
we
came.
here.
I'm like,
no, I'm talking about it not for us, but I'm talking about for them. Like, they wasted their motherfucking time, even like talking. Like, none of this shit added up.
I agree.
I agree. That shit is crazy. Like, I'm like, I didn't even know the user gonna bring this video. Sam, you be having shit in the cut. I didn't even know. It's like, oh, real shit. Everybody fired up. All right, I got something for y'all. I'm like, I'm like, what's this?
I haven't watched it yet, so I was like, well, if I'm gonna have to be tortured by this bullshit, I might as well share it with y'all.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, I got something real shit. I fired up after that. After cooking Professor Doe, I got something for y'all. You played it. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I'm like, what? Yo, that shit really offended me on so many levels, man. I ain't really getting to it. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, you had the brother going off about how his family was robbed from generations and centuries of wealth, being a 6th generation African American that has his college degree, and nobody in his family passed him down no fucking wealth. Like, what the fuck? Like, in America, you know what I'm saying? Like. And then he turned around and say, "Yo, that's why we gotta forgive student loan debt for everybody." That shit is
because his
like,
ass got a bunch of student loan debt. I bet he
Yeah, I
got
know.
over $100 grand. And think about it. He's 6 generations deep to do what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did in what, a generation? Like, her parents was college educated. She went to college,
Word up.
became a bartender, and she's a
Word up.
congresswoman. Okay,
Mhm.
so let's just be honest about how this shit rolls. Like, fucking, what's her name? The one who says that Black people are jealous of Somalis. Oh, Ilhan Omar, who says that the reason why Black people don't like her is because they're jealous of her. It's not because of the fact that she likes anti-Black racist posts. But okay, so like, her ass got here in the 90s and she's where you at.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 generations of your parents going to 5 generations of your parents going to college, and you where somebody who literally got here in 1994 is at.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet you though, the reason why he wants just to do the student loan shit is because he probably makes a decent income.
Of course.
He probably makes a decent income. He just removes all that debt. You know, he'll be living pretty. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Brother, he live like a rapper, but not like the nigga that old. You feel me? Not the motherfucker that owned Purdue Chicken, or not the tenure professor that taught him. Real shit. He probably went. You feel me? The professors that taught him, he won't live like them. I mean, like, if he went to a black school, I don't know. If he went to a white school, them tenure professors that he won't live like them. You feel me? He'll still live close to them. You feel me? He'll get close, but he won't live like them. You know what I mean?
I'm saying.
These motherfuckers is crazy. I'm going to bed. I hate this.
Listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redline and lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country. To win, you need our energy. You gon' sit listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.